you for giving us the chance to see you and listen to you in this event to talk about the digital recovery. So we're going to enter in the subject directly, and I want to give a first question to Dominique Vernay, perhaps. I wanted to know what's the systematic cluster approach on the contribution to open source softwares.
Okay, so maybe a little bit on history. In fact, the systematic cluster started, I think, 5 years ago. And in fact, when we built it, the common denominator was software. And interestingly, we have almost not mentioned open source software. It was maybe embedded, but not explicitly there. And 2 years after, and what I should say as well is that we started to have a lot of collaborative projects worth 500 million worth of common collaborative programs. And then the voice of the open source community raised, and we welcomed them on board. And I remember, because there were discussions, some people were first not knowledgeable about the subject, some were resistant. And what I must say after 1 year is that the integration is almost total, and that's the first thing. Second, I think that we have helped the community to organize themselves and also to include themselves in the process of getting fund for their collaborative program as well. And the job is not finished, but I think that the integration, as it has been said before, we are no longer in a situation where there is a war between proprietary software and open software. And I think that we can show that in real life.
Okay, thank you, Dominique. I think we can say that 14 projects have been sustained with subsidiaries for an amount of 14 millions of euros, and I think it's significant to create new softwares. So, Michel Cosnard, we are talking about software creation. INRIA is one of the most important research organizations in France, in Europe. What's the general position of INRIA towards open source?
Okay, thank you. Is it working? Yes. Thank you very much for this. Yes, as you said, INRIA is a research organization and public research organization, and as such, we are working on research in software, close with companies and universities, and we try to be part of the two worlds, which is not so simple sometimes. And for years, more than 30 years, we were actors in this open software community. So we are still maintaining and working over more than 300 open software. And constantly we provide new software, mostly in fields that are related to research, of course, but with various applications. I mean, you know Scilab, which has been issued from INRIA, and now simulation software, and is now outside INRIA, and will begin his own life. And I totally agree with the previous speakers that
with private fundings now.
Yes, of course, yes. and with service.
Yes.
With Scilab, you know COC. Maybe Seagull, which is a computational library for graphics and geometry, Proactive, and many others. I don't want to speak all of them. Let me say that we support strongly this, and we try to help the community to work. And all of these software have hundreds of developers worldwide. So. I totally agree with what has been said by the previous speakers, that somehow a step has been done in the accomplishment and recognition of the importance, the business importance of software. But the main steps are in front of us.
Absolutely. So Henri Verdier, you're leading Cap Digital, and I think you're most on the digital contents and what the place of open source offer on digital content, and what's this influence?
I think we should be very better and very smarter and faster in French, but I will try to speak English. Two ideas. First, we have a open software community in Cap Digital too, 50 companies.
Colibri.
Please?
Colibri.
It's called Colibri, and they have a website, colibri.org. You can visit him. And it's a very innovative and creative and dynamic community, very important for us. We work on digital content, but digital services too, digital design, and to work with open source community is very, very important. And the second idea is that the problem the issue for the content industry.
Yes.
More of these were issues for open software a few years ago. Free content, user-generated content, collaborative content. The problem that media affront today were thinked by open source community.
Yes.
So it's an avant-garde.
Yes.
The first mover.
Okay. We talked about the real life, and perhaps we can give you can give us a few words, Jean-Pierre Barberis, about recent signatures and strategic partnerships with the Brazilian government, for example, and how you are working on huge projects now, and what's open source in those projects.
Okay. First of all, we have signed agreements with some Brazilian parties in Forge and in open source services. But what I want to underline is another event which occurred early September during the visit of President Sarkozy to President Lula for Franco-Brazilian cooperation. In the final joint declaration, there is a small article, but very important, dedicated to information technology. And what they said we are going to cooperate in building up a supercomputer, high-performance calculation. And this area is strategic. Why is it strategic and how it is linked to open source? First, because a country like Brazil has a big aircraft industry with Embraer, for instance, which needs a lot of new calculation, simulation, numeric simulation. And they have also discovered new oil fields with Petrobras, and with the same things of needs. What is behind? It's the way of elaborating a cooperation like it has been done with the nuclear industry or with the ITER community, for instance. And the community is a buzzword behind that. It is that building up such thing and having collaboration with France and Brazil and such high performance computing has been made possible only by the fact that open source is behind. So open source is the use of open source with, I say, a classic and very standard Intel-like components allows us to reach petaflopic capacity, which is very, very high, and to allow cooperation like that. And I think it's a way to see that now open source with, it has been said, reliable, affordable building blocks is now part of very, very big business. We speak there about dozens of millions, and underneath a cooperation which is a high-level industrial cooperation and political one. Another aspect, because it is in standard life, to my French fellow, if you look after the new register plates, les nouvelles plaques d'immatriculation in the street,
Yes.
It's a very popular thing. More than about 3 million vehicles registered in mid-April. This has been done by Bull. It is done fully with open source.
Okay, very interesting, because big structure and projects, they are built around open source software, open source architectures, and perhaps Dominique Vernay, you have seen with Thales, you have worked on these kind of big, huge projects. How can you say, how can those softwares can cohabit in big architectures, and how can open source softwares be more integrated in strategic and critical projects?
First, now it's a fact that in almost all the projects that we are doing for our customer, the open source software is a very important source of code. It's a fact. Second, but we have also to develop some very specific software corresponding to very specific needs of the customer, especially when it comes with embarked software and so on. And in addition to that, in the systems that we are delivering, we have also vendor-based software. So it's one of the key, in fact, competencies that we need in those companies is to have architects who can take into account, I would say, what the open source world is offering and integrating that in the global design. And we consider that this capability of integration, the fact that we can integrate open source software, is really a key driver in the performance of the company. Those who are doing that well can make profit. The others, they are just losing. But it's something which requires as well some, I would say, some effort coming from the open source community. One is the quality of the service, because when we are delivering, for example, to the security and for the defense, we need to have something on which we can take a commitment on the quality and on the quality of the service as well. And if I speak for France, we have a problem with, we have a lot of very energetic small companies, yes, but not strong enough very often in order to take a strong commitment. But I will discuss that later on.
Okay, thank you. Michel, Cosnard, do you think we can give a new dynamic, a new dynamism in the software production using this software and all the ecosystem which bring new value in the production process of software?
Yes,
do you see that? Do you measure that?
As was already said, I mean, this is the next step. I mean, I may resume this in 3 words: confidence and trust. I mean, this was already mentioned by Dominique, but we can consider also this from another perspective. Since we have software that comes from very diverse sources, there is some, we must ensure the customer on the rights, the intellectual property rights, and IP rights tracking may be very, very difficult sometimes. So we have to provide tools for this. Strategical opportunities, as was mentioned. I mean, open software is one way of doing this. I mean, sometimes proprietary software, maybe sometimes they are combined. We should find the right answer to this and support companies that will do that. By the way, we create each year several companies for services for free software and open software. One founder is in the room, Dominique from Activeon, and the software is proactive, and we are creating Antelink, which is a company that will support IP rights tracking. The third one is, and already mentioned by Dominique, is professionalization. We should ensure, we should give trust to what we are providing, and all of these needs to make innovation, research, and to make people work together. lawyers working together with business researchers, with people working in software development from companies, and so we will announce very. I mean, today I have announced, but we will create soon a research and innovation center for this, because we need to do research in open software development,
yes.
Combining all these features.
Yes, and I think we need to invest in that research, and
of course, and we're ready to do that.
Okay, you talked about the contents. Perhaps Henri, Jean-Louis Missica, and Jean-Baptiste Roger talked us about the importance of the digitalization of the contents and the new projects in this way of presenting contents, delivering contents. So perhaps you have projects around this domain, and the criticism of the private property in these contents.
Yes, we have a few projects. If I have a simple idea, I'm convinced that if we speak a lot in France about le grand emprunt.
Yes.
If we don't invest on transformation, we lose our money. And transformation is a strategic transformation too. We have to take in the open software world, yes, ideas, method, organization, principle for the new economy. And yes, one of these ideas is the importance of data, of public data. Of I'm sure that we have in France a big, huge golden mine with all public data. With this golden mine, we could make millions and millions of services. And I demand that we use this data. They have to be accessible, interoperable, and it's one of the biggest issue of the debate,
Yes, and a lot of companies to create, to deliver new services, to deliver new products, new ways of exploiting those data.
Yes, I'm sure that all people here know the experience of San Francisco, the open SF system.
Yes.
All public data of the city of San Francisco are online, yeah, and thousands of little companies invent services with iPhone, with internet, and it's a big growth.
We talked about those data, and perhaps we can finish on this aspect. To deliver those data, we need infrastructures. We talked about cloud computing. Perhaps you have recommendations and what we could invest in to deliver through a big cloud, European cloud computing, for example?
The thing is very simple. We have been able, with partners like CA and with German partners and now Brazilian, to develop in 3 years ultimate machine, one of the biggest, I say, in parallel scientific calculation. All the components behind are in open source. These components are the same, exactly the same, for cloud computing. So open cloud is really affordable, and it is affordable in Europe, and we must participate to that.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for this roundtable.